Hello students, your SST teacher Meenakshi Kaushik will start the new chapter of SST classes 6 to 12 of social science subject. Watch my channel Digital Education Students regularly where I am providing the valuable information and other informative points related to the school exam pattern and related to your chapter. So now it's my humble request to all my students, all my well-wishers and viewers, please share and subscribe my channel. Thank you.
Hello 10 class students, your SST teacher Meenakshi Kaushik will start the new chapter of civics, outcomes of democracy. Students, the chapter is very wider and longer. That chapter cannot be completed in a one day online class or in a one day video. So now students, I have divided this chapter in three parts, and today the first part I will explain to you the meaning of democracy and the features of democracy and the merits and the demerits of democracy. In my next class, I will explain to you about the challenges of democracy and what are the challenges faced by our democratic country, India. In the next video, the third part, I will explain to you about outcomes of democracy. Now, students, please, you have to be very careful and attentive in my SST online class. When I am taking the chapter, please have to be attentive and you have to note down all the important and valuable information in your SST notepad, and please you simultaneously have to also take the screenshot. So now I'm going to start my first part, the outcomes of democracy, the class 10th chapter of civics. Now shall we start it? Let's start the 10th class students chapter, the outcomes of democracy of civics. So now students, in this chapter, firstly I will explain to you the meaning of democracy and then the features of democracy, merits of democracy and demerits of democracy. Because this chapter is very wider and lengthier chapter, already I have conveyed in my this previous slide. But I have divided this chapter in the three part, the first part and the second and the third part. In this first part, I will explain to you the features and merits and demerits. So now student, first of all, I would like to explain to you about the basic origination of the democracy and the word which is derived from the which language, that I will tell to you. The basic origination of the democracy, this word student, all we know that it was originated from the French Revolution, where the peoples of France, where the French peoples raised a slogan, liberty, equality and fraternity. These three words, basically, these three words, the basic platform to generate and to create the word democracy to whole world. Up now, when we talk about from which language the democracy originated, so now students, please note down in your SST notepad, and simultaneously please have to note down in your SST notepad or in any copy, and please take the screenshot. My all the school students and my online SST class students. Now please listen to me very carefully. My all explanation based on the chapter outcomes of democracy, the class 10th chapter. The word democracy comes from the Greek word demos. Demos means in Greek language people, and kratos means in Greek language power. Up now, when we combine these two words, demos plus kratos, it becomes people's power. When we combine these two words, demos plus kratos, it becomes people's power. So it means, in short, that democracy means people's power. Because we know that the ultimate power exists in the hand of the peoples. Exists in the hand of the peoples of a country. So, democracy can be thought of as a power of the peoples. Up now, the people's power. In which way we are saying this? That the ultimate powers exist in the hand of the peoples. The way is this, that now the peoples are having the power right to vote. Right to vote. Those are above age 18, whether the male है or female है, they can avail their right to vote, where they can elect and select their representatives to run the government. So now students, in democracy, now the peoples are having the power. They are having the power. All the males and females, they are having the power to elect and to select their representatives to run the government. And now this is a way of governing which depends on the will of the people. So now in democracy, now the government, basically our governing bodies, all they depends on the will of the people. That's why we say that in a democracy, in democratic form of government, where the ultimate power exists in the hand of the peoples. This is democracy. This is what? This is democracy. Because peoples are having in our hand, where we can elect and select our representatives to run the government. And now, when the government selected, when the majority party, the leader, the winning party, form the government, and the rules and regulations implemented by the government to whole country, and all we the citizens, we the peoples, should be very responsible to follow all the rules and regulations which are passed by the government, which are implemented by the government. This is the duty of the citizen of a democratic country, the peoples. This is our duty. This is the duty of the peoples of democratic country, and the duty of the government, the duty of the political parties, and the duty of the leaders to think about the welfare of the society and about the welfare of the peoples. This is a complete meaning of democracy. Now students, in the next slide, I will explain to you about the features of democracy. Now students, see, these are the some undeniable features of democracy. These are as follows. So now students, 10th class students, it's my just session to you. It's my sessions to you. Being a SST teacher, and same point always I convey to my school students. Whenever I take my SST class, all they keep their SST notepad and copies keep on a table, and then simultaneously all they write all the important points and important explanation, and the same you have to follow, my school students and as well as my online class students. अब now see students, the some undeniable features of democracy which cannot be ignored. These are the basic features of democracy. We cannot avoid it. If we are having the setup of democracy, if we are the democratic country, so now in democratic country, the democratic countries, they have to follow these features basically. First is the rule of law. Rule of law means the rules are applied equally for everyone. Rule of law, the first point is rule of law. The rules and regulations and the laws are applied for everyone equally. Means to say that everyone is equal before the eyes of law. Everyone is equal before the eyes of law, without any discrimination on the basis of caste discrimination, color discrimination, gender discrimination, religion discrimination, language discrimination, etc. Again, I am repeating. Now listen students, please carefully and note down the points. First is the rule of law, where we all the citizens, all the peoples, all we have to equally follow the rules and regulations. Everyone is equal before the eyes of law. There is no partiality will be followed by the law. So now rules are equal for everyone without following any discrimination on the basis of caste discrimination, color discrimination, gender discrimination, religious discrimination, and language discrimination. Now the third point, the democratic voting system with active citizen participation. You can see here the democratic voting system, right to vote, universal adult franchise with active citizen participation. So now this is the basic, the second one, feature of the democracy. If we want a very healthy and successful democratic setup in our country, India, so we have to follow it very honestly. The democratic voting system. Honestly, this system should be followed, where those are above age 18, whether you are from the female category, whether you are from the male category, without any discrimination on the basis of gender, caste, color, all the peoples above age 18, they are having the right to vote, to elect and select their representative to run the government. This is known as active citizen participation. We all the citizens, we all the peoples of our country have to be very active. When the election procedure is followed, when the election is held in our country, we all the peoples, those age above 18, have to be actively participate in election process. Then we will have the democratic setup, a healthy democratic setup, a healthy democracy in our country. Now the next is the representation of minorities. Representation of minorities means the participation and representation of marginalized group. Again, I am repeating, 10th class students, please listen to me very carefully. Here, the meaning of the fourth point, representation of minorities. When we talk about the representation of minorities, it means we are talking about the participation, active participation and representation of marginalized groups. Marginalized groups, they should have to actively participate in representation, in decision-making processes and in institutions. Again, I am repeating, please note down. Representation of minorities means the participation and the representation of marginalized groups in decision-making processes and in institutions. This is another feature of democracy, where the minorities groups means the marginalized group, the weaker section of the society. They should not be and they cannot be avoided in the democracy. This is another basic feature of democracy, representation of minorities. Next, the fifth number point. Students, note down please in your SST notepad simultaneously, and you can also take the screenshot as well as the freedom of speech, expression and choice. Yes, being a citizen of the democratic country, we are having the freedom, liberty of speech, speaking, liberty of expression and liberty of different choices in our hand. And now this freedom of speech and expression and choices will be including in fundamental rights. All we know that the fundamental rights are the basic rights of the citizen of a country, which are and which were given by our Indian Constitution, the 6 fundamental rights. So now when we talk about the freedom of speech and expression and choices, it means we are talking about right to freedom. So now students, first of all, I would like to tell you, yes, little bit detail about the fundamental rights. Please note down students, that the 6 fundamental rights, first of all, you have to write, which are given and which were given by Indian Constitution. So please note down first of all. First right is the right to equality. The right to equality is Article 14 to 18. Second fundamental right is the right to freedom, or you can say also the right to liberty. Liberty or freedom meaning will be same. So right to freedom, yeah, right to liberty meaning same. Article 19 to 22. 19 to 22 means Article 19, Article 20, Article 21, Article 22. That will cover. This is right to freedom, right to liberty. The third one is a fundamental right. That is the right to against exploitation. Students, generally the students, even the 10th class students do the mistakes in their answer sheet. Whenever I checked the answer sheet of the students of my school, and there's some silly mistakes I had done. Don't write right to exploitation. No one is having the right to exploitation. According to Indian Constitution, the correct word you have to write, right to against exploitation, means to say that no one is having the right to exploit anyone. No institution, no organization, no any particular individual having the right to exploit anyone. This is right to against exploitation, article number 23 to 24. Article 23, article 24. This is your right to against exploitation. Students, please simultaneously have to note down. Because these fundamental rights I am giving the extra details and information, valuable information to you related to this topic, freedom of speech, expression and choices. Just to enhance your knowledge, my 10th class students, please. Next, fundamental right number 4. Please note down. Right to freedom of religion. Right to freedom of religion. This is Article 25 to 28. Article 25 to 28. Article 25, 26, 27 and 28. This will be including a right to freedom of religion. Now next, fundamental right number 5. Cultural and educational right. Cultural and educational rights, Article 29 and 30. Only 2. Article 29 and 30. And now the last one. This is a 6th number fundamental right, which is right to constitutional remedies. Constitutional remedies, Article 32. 32 to 35. And now this, one more thing student I would like to tell you. Okay, right to constitutional remedies. This is a article which is known as the heart of the Indian Constitution. This Article 32, it is known as the heart of the Indian Constitution. A very important article number 32. Sometimes the teachers give the question, simply they write the question in question paper, explain about the Article 32. If you will go in the depth of the chapter, in the depth of the topic, then you, the students, will be able to write about the Article 32. Otherwise, now the students will skip the question in exam. So students, Article 32 means we are talking about the constitutional remedies. In detail, I will explain to you in the next SST online class video, when I will take the separate chapter, simple, based on the fundamental rights. That separate video I will make on the fundamental rights. That time I explain to you the complete details, each and every articles and their clauses. I will explain to you in my next video based on fundamental rights. Up now next student. So here I think, I hope so all of you understood. Again I am repeating. First one is the right to equality here. Article 14 to 18 please students note down. Second one, right to freedom means liberty, Article 19 to 22. Third one, right to against exploitation. Please you have to write against. You have to focus on against. And Article 23 to 24. And fourth one, right to freedom of religion. Article 25 to 28. And now fifth one, cultural and educational rights, Article 29 and 30. And last one, the sixth one, right to constitutional remedies, Article 32 to 35. So students, all these are the fundamental rights, and this is the freedom of speech and expression that will come in your right to freedom, right to liberty. Clear my point? Next student, this is the Yes, 6 number point, right to education. All we know about that, the importance of education in our life, whether you are in a student life, whether we are in a mature kid. There is a much importance of education in our life, in each everyone's life, whether we are from the male society, whether we are from the female society. So right to education, a very important right for all the human beings, for all the citizens. So now students, this right to education, this is the another feature of democracy. All we know that about the RTE Act. I think you, the 10th class students, all of you heard about and know about the RTE Act, Right to Education Act. Right to Education Act basically it is based and focused on universalization of education, where the age group of 6 to 14 age group students, they are having the right to gain the primary level education. This is the basic motto of the universalization of education and right to education. Age group 6 to 14. And this RTE Act, it was implemented firstly in Delhi in August 2010. Delhi was the first city where the RTE Act was implemented, 2010. So RTE Act basically it relates to the promotion and the universalization of primary level education, the age group of 6 to 14. Next is the next feature of democracy, independent judiciary, a very important feature for a democratic country. For the safety of democracy, independent judiciary. When we talk about the independent judiciary, so firstly students, we have to know the organs of the government, the 10th class students, the organs of the government, levels of the government, the central level, the state level and the local level. But when we talk about the organs of the government, legislature, executive and judiciary. These are the three important organs of the government. Again I am repeating, legislature, executive and independent judiciary. Legislature, the function of the legislature, I am telling to you, okay, to make the laws. And executive, the organ, to implement the laws, to execute the laws. And judiciary, it is completely an independent organ of the government. Judiciary is not bounded with the legislature and executive. It is a completely independent organ of the government. Judiciary is known for the impartial judgment. Whatever the decisions, whatever the judgment will be passed by the judges, whether they are from the High Court and the Supreme Court and the lower courts, all they have to be impartial in passing their judgments. This is a basic feature of our judicial system of India and the basic another feature of democracy. Our judiciary, that should be impartial. Impartial judgment should be passed to each and every community, to each and every group, to each and every minority group or majority group, doesn't matter. Next, right to form association and union. The another feature of democracy, students, this one, note down please. Right to form association and union, because this is also the part of the fundamental right. You are having the right, this is your right to liberty. You are having the right to liberty, a right to freedom to form any association and any union organization. But that should be welfare for the society. Their focusing part should be the welfare of the human beings and welfare of the country. So now you can form any association and union according to our Indian Constitution, according to the fundamental rights, right to freedom, Article 19 to 22. But that should be for the welfare of the society, welfare of the democracy and welfare of our country. One more thing, students, if we are having the fundamental rights, all we know that The 10 fundamental duties are also mentioned in our Indian Constitution. Rights are also there, the 6 and 7 fundamental rights. But the fundamental duty is being a citizen of a democratic country, India. We all the citizens honestly have to follow the fundamental duties, the 10 fundamental duties. And now the other, the ethical and moral values. The principles of directive principles of state policies, which are completely based on ethical and on moral values. I think this is clear to you. Whatever I explained to you about the features of democracy. So student, please you have to take the screenshot and have to note down all the important SST points, this topic, the features of democracy, in your SST notepad. I hope so all of you understood this topic very nicely and betterly. Now students, next slide. See the next slide please. Yes, this is the image and the picture of the merits of democracy and demerits of democracy. So now in my next slide, I will explain to you about the merits of democracy and the demerits of democracy. Now see the next slide. Yes, friends, these are the some merits and the benefits of democracy are. In this topic, I explained to you what are the benefits, what are the advantages of democracy. So these are the advantages and these are the benefits of democracy. Students, please note down simultaneously in your SST notepad and take the screenshot. The first point, there are ways to resolve different views and conflicts peacefully. There is a scope in democracy, students. There is a scope in democratic system where we can resolve the different views, because each and every community, each and every group, all they are having their own views, their expression, and now they are having the conflicts also, contradictions also. So now in democratic setup, we can resolve the different views and different contradictions and conflicts peacefully. This is the first benefit of democracy, where the peoples are having the right to express their views and their ideas openly. The next second benefit and second advantage and second merits of democracy, this is respect for human dignity. In democratic system, there is a respect for human dignity. In democracy, we think about the welfare of the humans. In democracy, there is always the question in front of the government. You always think about the welfare about the society and welfare about the country. And now, as well as in democratic setup, the democratic government have to maintain the respect and the dignity of each and every human being, of the society, of different religious groups and different linguistic groups. Next, third one, the people have freedom. The third one, the benefit and merits of democracy, the people have freedom to act, to speak, and to think freely, as long as it doesn't stop others doing the same. Means to say that now here the peoples are having the freedom, right to freedom. Article 19 to 22. In my previous slide, I have already explained to you students about the fundamental rights, and this is your right to freedom, right to liberty, where the peoples are having the freedom to speak, to act, freedom of speech and expression. They can produce their open ideas in front of the public. They can express their ideologies openly. This is completely, now it is possible. Simply it is possible in a democratic setup, in a democracy. On the other hand, if you will see the dictatorial form of government, where all the powers exist only in one hand, only in one leader, only in one person, where the peoples are not having the right to speak openly, to act openly, and to think freely. This is only possible in a democracy, in a democratic sector. Now the fourth point, students, equality before the law. Already I explained to you about the rule of law. Here, equality before the law means all the people's right to equality. Article 14 to 18. This is your another fundamental right. The first fundamental right. Right to equality, Article 14 to 18. Where the equality before the law. Where all the peoples, all the citizens of a country will be treated by the constitution, will be treated by the laws, will be treated by the judiciary equally. No discrimination. No discrimination among the peoples of society will be followed by the laws. No discrimination will be followed by the judiciary. No discrimination will be followed by the constitution. This is equality before the law. Means to say that rule of law. All the peoples are equal. All the peoples are equal. This is equality before the law. This is rule of law. This is your fundamental right to equality, Article 14 to 18. Next one, the fifth number point, students also have to note down the another benefit, another merits of democracy. This is safe and secure community. In democratic setup, we the peoples, the different groups, in different communities, different castes, different communities, we can move easily anywhere, anywhere, any place, any area of the country. This is what? This is because of in democratic setup, we the peoples feel free. We the peoples feel safe and secure. And different other communities. All the communities are free here, safe here, and secure here. In democratic setup, it is possible only in democratic setup, where the peoples of different religious group, different communities, different caste, different linguistic groups, all they feel safe and secure. This is also our right to freedom, to move anywhere, any place in our country, in a democratic countries. This is not only in the context of India. This is, I'm talking about where the democratic setup is followed. This is the basic, these are the basic benefits of democracy. These are the basic benefits of and basic merits of a democratic form of government. So students, now these all are the 5 points which are the benefits, advantages, merits of democracy. This is very important question to the 10th class students, and these are the basic question of the chapter of civics, outcomes of democracy. So outcomes of democracy, before starting the directly the outcomes and the challenges of democracy, first we have to know about the meaning of democracy, from where the word is originated, from which language the word is originated. This is the basic we have to know. Students in SST, in my previous SST online classes, in my all the videos, I always convey to my school students and my SST online class students, you never go the chapter the straightforwardly. Never start any chapter straightforwardly. Always to go to the background of the chapter, the basic of the chapter. Then the background and the basics connect to your present chapter. Clear? Then easily you will be able to understand the chapter and grasp your chapter. So when you're talking about, and now when you read about the outcomes of the democracy, the 10th class syllabus, the chapter, firstly you have to know about the democracy, the features of democracy, the origin of the democracy, and the benefits of the democracy. And on the next slide, I will explain to you the demerits of democracy. Now please students, watch the next slide please. Yes, these are the disadvantages of democracy. First is the instability. This is the first demerit. You can say demerit, disadvantage, demerit and disadvantage of democracy, instability. Frequent changes in leadership can lead to instability. Yes, because all we know that in the democratic setup, in democratic form of government, there is always after the 5 years there is a election process. Election process will be followed every 5 years. Now the different political parties will take the part, will contest the elections, and different representatives will also contest the different election at different constituencies, electoral constituencies, and winning party, the majority party naturally will form the government, and the second one, the party, the majority, second one party that will play the role of the opposition party. All we know that. So now this is a disadvantage of democracy instability, where generally we see the frequent changes in leadership can lead to the instability, because after 5 years there will be the another political party, the another leaders. Then again after 5 years, the another political parties, another leaders. So now these type of the frequent changes, you can say that after every 5 years, sometime it leads to instability, which we'll see in our democratic setup. This is the minus point of democracy, which we feel, which we feel. Next is slow decision making. The second point, slow decision making, student have to note down. The democratic system can be slow to make decision. Yes, like our judicial system, Indian judicial system. Sometimes our judiciary take too much time. After many years, the judgment will be passed by the judicial system. So now here the slow decision making. The democratic system can be slow to make decision. It generally happens in a democratic setup. Because of the slow decision making process, so this is another demerit or another disadvantage of democracy. Takes too much time, because any rule any regulation it has to be passed by the different processes. If any rule, any regulation will be passed by the parliament sessions, firstly, the two-third majority of the Lok Sabha members, the two-third majority of the Rajya Sabha members, they have to pass the bills, and then the bill will be presented in front of the our country head, in front of the president, the signatory authority. After the signature of the president, approval of the president, then the bill become as an act. So here, sometimes the decision making process it delays. It takes too much time. This is a second disadvantage of democracy. Yes, third one point, the political polarization. Democracy can lead to the political polarization, where the political parties become more extreme and less willing to compromise. Yes, generally it happens in the democratic setup because there is a multi-party system, more than two, three parties. National parties are also in our country, the regional parties are also in our country. All the parties are having their own interest, their manifestos and their policies and their programs, right? So now their policies and their manifestos and their programs, naturally these policies and programs of different multi-party system, different political parties that will be clash to each other. Or these clashes, this contradiction sometimes creates a conflicting situations in a society, in democratic society, contradictory situations in a democratic society among the political parties and among the leaders also. We can see our current scenario. In current scenario, what we are seeing? Sometimes blaming to each other. This political party blame to this, that political party blame to that one. This is what? Sometimes this type of blaming game, it's not good for the healthy setup of democracy. So here the political parties become more extreme and less willing to compromise. They are not ready to compromise. They are not willing to compromise for the welfare of the society because their interest, their wishes, their interest, their high dreams, the political parties clashes to each other. This is the basic reason. This is the third, the negative, and you can say the demerit of the democracy. Next one, the next point I'm going to explain, please. See the next slide. Yes, fourth one point. Student, note down, please. In your SST notepad simultaneously, and students, my school students, again I'm repeating this point, and my online class students have to please take the screenshot simultaneously. Corruption, fourth number point. Democracy can be vulnerable to corruption, as politicians may be tempted to use their power for personal gain. Generally, it happens. The democracy where the politicians and the political parties, they lure the general peoples and the common peoples, and especially the illiterate peoples and uneducated peoples, and just to lure them, to tempt them, if we will provide to you this and that, these benefits will be given by us, by our political party, if we are in the government after the election. So this type of means the temptations and lure, and different type of means different type of promises generally given by the politicians, promise to the illiterate peoples, uneducated peoples of our society, just to gain the power of seat, just to gain the personal gain of political parties and different politicians. So this is what? This is refers to corruption. This is denotes to corruption. If we the political party, we the politician will behave like this to allure the people's, the illiterate people's passion, and to tempt to them, he just give the vote to us, and sometimes they are using the power, their political power, just for their personal gain. This all the factors leads to corruption, to allure them, to tempt them, and to use the sometimes the muscle power. Next point, number fifth, dishonest voting. Yes, this is another factor, another demerit of democratic setup. Anti-social elements can play a role in elections. Sometimes it happens, muscle powers are used by the different politicians, the political parties in elections time. And sometimes now just to tempt and just to lure them and just to bribe, giving the bribe to the peoples to gaining the maximum vote for a specific candidate or a party. This is another way. This is another way. This is another means you can say this is another demerit, another disadvantage of democracy, dishonest voting. Muscle powers are used by the different political parties and the politicians. Sometimes it happens, which we observe in our society at the time of the election, particularly giving the bribe to the peoples and now gaining the vote for a specific candidate or for a particular party. Next is the money and power. Money and power can play an important role in election. Now at the time of the dissemination, of the political parties, at the time of the propagation before election, now they are using the excessive money, flow of money and flow of power, muscle power. Different political parties, different politicians, and even anti-social elements, sometimes they are hired by the political parties. Sometimes it happens, which we observe. So money and power can play an important role in elections. This is another negative, a demerit of democracy. When we talk about the healthy, and successful democratic setup in our country, so we have to avoid corruption, we have to avoid dishonest voting, we have to avoid excessive flow of money,
and use of muscle power. Then we will have the healthy and successful democracy in our country, India. The next slide, the one point also I have to discuss with you. Yes, you can see in this picture. This is what? This is dishonest voting. Dishonest voting. Because all we know that at one time, one vote will be accepted. At one time, the one vote will be accepted, not the two votes. At one time, you can see here the two votes. One is the genuine voter, yet the tick mark is there, and this is a fake voter. So sometimes it happens. Now the dishonest voting, it is also followed. Sometimes it is also followed in different polling booth, right? So that should not be also followed in a healthy democratic setup. One time, one vote. And this picture you can see here, this is a correct vote and this is completely the fake. Clear? Now next slide please. Incompetence. Incompetence. This is another demerit of disadvantage of democracy. Democracy can lead to people focusing on personal interest instead of collective interest. Yes, in democracy setup, in democratic setup, we have to focus. The government has to focus. The government has to focus only just the welfare and the welfare of the society and welfare of the country. But sometimes it happens in a country, if we are just focusing on our personal interest instead of collective interest. You can see in this picture. One side, this is a positive image. These two people are just shaking the hands. Now here the mutual understanding. This picture is showing mutual understanding, cooperation, togetherness, collective interest, welfare, welfare thinking about the country and the peoples. This picture is showing this. But below the part, you see the reality. This is a reality. It happens sometimes. It happens in a society. The democratic system, sometimes few people are like this. Not all. Few people are like this. They are just focusing on their personal interest. They are not focusing on collective interest. One side the picture is different, or second time below the table the picture is different. Now there is the exchanging of money. Exchanging of money, or you can say exchanging of bribe. Right? Give and take. This is give and take. So now if the give and take, the policy will be followed under the table, we will never have a healthy and successful democratic setup. This picture should be in our mind, in all the citizens of our country, in our government, in political leaders, among all the political parties. This is a healthy picture, a healthy and successful scenario of the democratic setup. And this is wrong. This give and take the method and below the table it is wrong. So now students, these all are the which I discussed with you, the demerits of the democracy and the merits of the democracy. So students, at last I would like to convey to you, all our 10th class students and the citizen of our country and the future of our country. You the students always have to focus on this first case. Never see the picture. Avoid this picture. Give and take below the table. This is not in welfare of the society. This is only the picture which only thinking about the welfare of society. This is the positive response of democracy, or this is a negative. So we have to pick this one. Always be collective, togetherly, think about the welfare of the society, think about the successful democratic system should be in our country, India. Now, students, I hope so. All of you understood the explanation of the democracy, the meaning of democracy, the features of democracy, the merits of democracy, and demerits of democracy. Your Meenakshi ma'am, I think so, explained to you in a very easy manner and very simplest manner. And now also you, I think so, you also taken the screenshot and whatever the points I have discussed, now simultaneously you noted in your SST notepad. So now students, it's my yes request to you, whatever I'm explaining to you, so please listen my each and every explanation carefully. If you are having any doubt, any query, any question, so now students you can contact to me through my WhatsApp number which I have given in my description box. And even you can attend my SST online classes regularly. I'm also taking the SST online classes where I'm providing to my students PYQs, means the previous year's question papers, CBSE board, and then the sample papers I'm discussing with them, even the chapter explanation in broader manner, and now I'm just giving to them the weekly revision to my all the SST online class students. So if you want to join my SST class students, you can also join. And now you have to focus on your social science subject, particularly because we know that this is the chapter very descriptive, subjective chapter. This chapter needs much knowledge, depth knowledge, much explanation, and much information, valuable information, which I always try to give to my students, my school students, and my online class students. So now students, thank you for attending my SST online class and watch my all the SST videos regularly. So student, this was the 10th class student. This was the first part of outcomes of democracy. In second part, I will explain to you about the challenges of democracy, and the third part I will explain to you about the outcomes of democracy, because this chapter is very wider and lengthier. I divided this chapter in three parts. So now students, please, my channel name, all of you know that, Digital Education, Meenakshi Kaushik ma'am. So please like and share and subscribe my channel, Digital Education by Meenakshi Kaushik. Thank you students. Thank you my all viewers. Thank you.